Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dylan Musk, and I have with me today to review Star Wars Outlaws, the two biggest Star Wars fans that I personally know. First up, the Dank Ferric Taylor Field. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I am happy to be here to talk Star Wars with you and Travis.
Yes, there he is, the Clown Prince of Scoundrels. Travis, how is it going, my friend?
It's pretty good. It's been a busy, long weekend, but I got as much time as possible with Outlaw, so I'm excited to compare notes and talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah. As you mentioned, this is Star Wars Outlaws here. We have no other topics. We're all in on Star Wars Outlaws tonight. I don't think I have not beaten the game personally. I don't think I would be surprised if you guys have rolled credits on it. Taylor, I don't know. You're giving me a little smirk over there.
No.
Okay.
No.
I was like, oh my god. I mean, apparently the main story is not too long if you just kind of rush through it. But anyway, we're gonna start very spoiler light. We'll get more spoilery as things go along. But as I just mentioned, we haven't beaten the game. Or the main story, at least at this point. So that's kind of what to expect for today's episode. And we're just going to get right into it. Taylor Field, starting with you, how much have you played, roughly hours, or, well, maybe we'll hold off on the spoiler stuff. Is it roughly hours, and what do you think of Star Wars Outlaws so far?
I could not pinpoint how many hours I have played, but I'm glad that we got to actually have it a few days early, which we'll talk more about that because that was fucking horrendous how they allowed us to access it early.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to break that down, essentially, if you got like the premium edition of the game, then you can play it a couple days early.
Yeah.
However, if you subscribe to Ubisoft Play or Plus or whatever the hell it's called, and play the game through there, you get access to that version of the game, the premium edition. So you can have it days early, even if you didn't pay any more money than like the $20 monthly fee of Ubisoft. So yeah, it was confusing, and I definitely threw you guys off maybe a little bit there because it's like, I don't think it's out until Thursday.
Cost me a day. Cost me a whole day.
Travis kept fighting me on it. He was on your side. And I got the email. I'm like,
I was.
this
I'm
is
like, Dylan
saying
said
we
this,
could play it.
and I agreed with Dylan because like, that would make sense for the Ultimate Edition, but like.
Yeah.
the
I mean, I'm
Ubi
used to the Game Pass model where they like that's how they're kind of getting their money
Yes.
is like you subscribe to Game Pass to get to the game, but then you're gonna pay for that extra edition content. That's where you get the bonus stuff. So I'm surprised that they dump all that in there for these games in general.
$15-$20.
I wonder if they do that all the time, or if Star Wars Outlaws was as an exception. They wanted people to get in there early. I'm not sure, but anyway, it was kind of a weird situation.
It was a weird scenario, yeah.
And even the download situation, the fact that it's not in the app, that you search
Yeah,
it in-game
terrible.
store.
Terrible.
Terrible app all the way
It's
around.
so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost as bad as Crave. So, yeah, I don't know how many hours I've sunk into the game, but I've been playing as much as I can, and it's funny because like it'll be late at night when I'm playing, and I'll play for like an hour. It's like okay, like 15-minute power nap, and then like okay, we're in for another 2 hours, and like just trying to like get into it and do as much as I can. But I'm happy actually with where I've gotten. I feel like I actually made a pretty good dent in the story, and I made a pretty good dent in the overall exploration. Now, it's not a non-spoilers. The first planet you start on after you beat basically like the prologue, I was really taken aback by how much you could do on this planet, and so most of my time was heavily invested on that planet. But once I finished kind of like for the most part the main story on there, obviously there's a lot of side stuff to do. The next planet I hit, I was much more streamlined, and it felt like it's a lot more contained. It's not as open as that first planet was, which I'm kind of thankful for because I was able to complete everything main story wise related on that second planet and then move to the next planet. So I've done a lot of the side missions on the first planet. The second planet I did a bunch just to boost my reputation with the crime syndicate there. But there's a few things that I kind of dislike and a few things that I think, man, I don't want to have to whip out a guide or a YouTube video, but fuck, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. I had to pull out a few videos, and it was truly, I don't know, just kind of, do I just say underwhelming? Maybe underwhelming is the proper word for that. Just like this is where this thing is to allow me to progress further, and I thought that's really, really unfortunate. Even in the prologue, I thought, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like there's no proper kind of direction or guidance, and that's a big con for me. And ultimately, like we'll talk more and more about it. But in closing here, for my initial thoughts, I feel like the movement coming from a company that has a big hand in Assassin's Creed titles, which are amazing games when it comes to movement. This game's movement, when it comes to the climbing and the maneuvering, really, really bothers me. It feels very blocky, I guess is the word. It's not smooth as, I'm looking at this new Assassin's Creed Shadows game with the parkour mechanics, and it looks fucking smooth. This is not smooth. They should have been pulling some of it.
No Ezio.
She is not an Ezio, that is for sure. So
okay, Travis, how about you? Do you have an estimate of hours, or I guess I like Taylor's metric there. Like, there's that one kind of the main planet, the first planet, and then it kind of opens up and you can go to 3 separate planets. So I don't know, how far in the game are you roughly, and what are you thinking so far?
I'm still on that first planet. Okay. I think because for not the first time, I've been doing this more lately, but I've done like a good balance of side quests, random stuff, and the main quests. I feel like I could be somewhere in the 10 to 15 hour mark, but not in the sense of, because I think the campaign's supposedly like 18 to 20. You could beat that, but I haven't really, because I think so far as like I guess it's a con. I don't think the story's anything to write a home about right now, but I think that's part of the game. I like it that when I'm doing the side quests and a lot of the jobs or the reputation banners, which we'll talk about, I feel like I'm kind of creating my own story in a sense. So I feel like it's pretty paint by numbers. The best way to describe this, because I was talking to Kirkland about the game and he thought I like hated it, but for me, and maybe this is, what I can say is I'm heavily enjoying it. I like going in there. It's like what you were talking about a couple weeks ago with Mad Max, or just last week, it's like just a rotation of like, I like going in there, doing a couple jobs, doing side quests, doing one main mission, and then I'm kind of done. I think it is like Hogwarts Legacy, where there's times where I think it was Friday, I did like a long playthrough, and at the end I was like, oh, I'm just like done. Like, I'm not even tired. I'm like, I'm done playing this game right now. It's so that's where I'd say where I'm having tons of fun with it, but it's also like, oh, I can't put this down. It's like, okay, for me, this has been good and like 3 to 4 hour blocks, and then I've had my fill with it. But it's like the best movie version of a game ever, like those straight to movie games that they would make to like, oh, Captain America's coming out, so here's a Captain America game. I think it's like that, and this sounds like a disrespectful thing, I don't mean it to be, but I think the gameplay and some of the features have that, where it's very basic. It's just very, okay, checkbox, here you go. I think there's some things about the skill tree I kind of like, but at the end of the day, it's still a skill tree. It's just the way I like that they kind of parse it out to you. But I think overall it's kind of a basic game with the open world agenda put on it, but it's kind of the best version of that. I'm kind of surprised. I'm excited to get to their planets. I feel like even just with this one planet, there's enough to do. It has that classic Ubisoft. Even then, I was playing, I'm like, okay, you get this cool little menu, which I like, of how you can keep all the missions, and I absolutely love, because that's one of my cons I've been playing, what is it, Starfield again, and the missions, the side quests, it's all just a big mess on there, right? I love the menu system here, so it's like, oh, I'll do this job and this job, but then as you would think, a Ubisoft game, 5-8 hours in, that builds up very quickly, and then it starts to become, okay, this is a bit too much. So I think that's why I've almost slowed down, because I'm trying to make it that doesn't become egregious right now. But I'm having a good time. I like the character of Kay. I like the small little changes you can do, attire, guns, stuff like that. So that's what I think. And the other thing is to say, like, we're all playing this as like a $15 to $20 game. So I think it'd be a lot different if I spent $100 on this, and maybe I would come in more critically.
I'd pay $20. I don't know where your $15.
I think it's 15 American. So I think I keep seeing the ads of that, but then with us, the conversion's 20. So that's what I'm saying. For American listeners, 15, us 20. Don't know what you're doing in the UK with your pounds over there. But so for like $20, I'm having a great time. This is like one of the best $20 games I've played in my life. If it was a full price, I could understand that. I could definitely wait. I think it's like the Legacy 2, I will say as well, for Hogwarts Legacy. I think this game does a great job of capturing the feel of Star Wars. When you walk into a cantina, when you're seeing the speed racers go, when you see the stormtroopers, even the music, it's not perfect, but there's sometimes where it just feels like that. There's one mission, a minor spoiler, where you had to like invade an Empire base. I'm like, oh, this feels like ripped out of the movies, corners, everything. So it has that aura, and I think that helps too. If the game didn't feel like Star Wars, then if it didn't feel like Star Wars and it was basic, why am I playing? This is not nothing, but this is like a great like bonus like simulator. And I actually am really enjoying, because I know some people are like, oh, the first open world Star Wars game, you don't get to be a Jedi. I like that. I like being the scoundrel. We'll talk about, but I love the reputation system. I think that's very cool, and it's like actually how I can plan my jobs out and go, oh, I'll do this one first, because if I get my meter up here, this will make this job easier. So I feel like with each playthrough, I learn little tricks, and even the traversing's really easy. That speeder drives nicely. I just talked about in Starfield where that's awful. I feel like I can get to every place really quick, and even if you don't fast travel, it doesn't feel like it takes that long. So no, I'm having a really fun time with this. I don't think it's game of the year. I don't think it's ever gonna be in my top 5 Star Wars games, top 5 games of the decade, or anything like that. But so far, I can just give a thumbs up and say, hey, if you're a Star Wars fan, I think there's something for you to like here, but it's not gonna blow the hinges off your door.
Nice. Well, I think I'm in a very similar spot to you, Travis, if not even hotter on this game, which is a surprise. I can't think of the last time or any time ever where I, on the podcast, have been like the hottest on a Star Wars thing. But I am in love with this game so far. I'm having an absolute great time. I'm probably about 15 hours in. I've had a busy weekend, but I'm still just like any free minute. I'm like, I want to put, even I just had like 20 minutes before we were starting here. I'm like, I want 20 more minutes with this game because I just can't put it down. I'm in a similar, I guess, spot as Taylor, like in terms of how far along I am. I'm finished that first planet, not finished it. There's a million side quests still there, but I did a bunch of side quests there because a lot of them had like really good rewards, or I was interested in them, or once, as you mentioned, like get those meters up and wanted to try and go for some bigger rewards, and I got a couple.
Did you do the vault? The vault with the 3 key cards?
Yes, I did a vault.
Yes.
Got 5K credits
5K.
for that. I was like, woo!
I've been swimming. I know nothing.
Yeah.
I've been. Oh, you need some help? Yeah, here, have 50 credits. You know, like I've been swimming. Did you do the vault yet, Taylor?
No.
You
There's
should
a
go back
couple
to
of
that
them.
first planet. Yeah, that first planet though. You gotta get 3 key cards. It's worth it. Get those credits. Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Are those like the Crime Syndicate vaults that each one has, or something
Yeah,
else?
I think every
Yeah.
syndicate probably has one, and then at least the first 2 on the first planet, like they each have 3 key cards spread across the open world there. So you just have to go pick those up and then head back there, which is easier if you're a friend of that syndicate to just walk in through most of the doors at least. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying this game. I finished that first planet for the most part, and then I went and I just finished all the quests on the second planet I went to, like the main story quests, which I was surprised about that. It went really quick. I think there was like 2 missions, maybe
Oh,
like
really?
one
You
kind
did
of preamble
Kijimi,
one.
didn't you?
I went to Tatooine actually.
Oh, you did Tatooine. Okay, I did Kijimi as my second, and that was literally 2 story missions, and I
Right.
was done.
So they both sound like they just have 2 stories. Yeah, that's.
I'm
crazy.
guessing the third one does too, so maybe that's the structure. I don't know if is there more than 4 planets? Do you guys, or I guess 5 if you count the intro area?
I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
it was just the 3, not counting the intro. I think it was just the 3, but
Okay, yeah.
can
So
confirm.
that sounds par for the course, and as like I'm sure there's a ton of side quests to do there as well. But I was surprised at how quickly the main quest went on that second planet. That
there's
sounds
5
like,
apparently. There is 5. So
Okay,
guess
so
there's
maybe I
one
don't know
more.
if they count that prologue situation as being a planet. Probably not, because you
Yeah.
can't fly there again, as far as I've seen. I guess you would maybe go back there for the final quest or something. Maybe it's something like that. But either way, so I'm kind of blasting through it in that way. I think I'm probably gonna do like maybe 3 or 4 more quests on the second planet before I move on to the next one, just the ones that really upgrade my character. But it's funny, I'm the exact opposite of what you said, Taylor, in terms of the game feel, because over the years I've been trying to play some Assassin's Creed games, jumping into Origins, and I'm trying to think, just anything that's like been on Game Pass. I guess Origins wasn't on Game Pass, but I've picked up a couple of these random games, and like I just don't love the feel of like an Assassin's Creed game, and maybe I gotta play the right one or really sit with it longer. But I just found like the complete opposite of this, and that's why I was so surprised, because I'm so low on Star Wars hype right now. I'm generally so on not even just Assassin's Creed, but like any Ubisoft thing. I just don't like the feel of their games typically. So that's why I'm so surprised that I'm really enjoying this. And even something like the speeder, at first I was like, oh man, this thing controls like shit. Then it's like, oh, I got a couple upgrades on it, and now it controls really well, which I think is a really nice thing. Most games, they make everything feel really good at first, but I like that this game kind of makes you feel really underpowered and really bad at your job. Like you're a really bad outlaw at first, and then you kind of, at least I felt like I was, and then you kind of ratchet it up as well. And then I also feel like this game had some of the best like settings options I've seen for any games, because almost every game these days, or at least like big AAA ones, has like really intense accessibility options, which are great. And I like looking through at what is available there, but most of those things aren't really for me. But in this game, I mentioned to you guys early on that, yeah, you can turn off those annoying black bars that kind of shrink the screen resolution. So I did that immediately. You can get really custom with the difficulty. So I turned up like the enemy difficulty to the maximum because I wanted the stealth challenges to be a little bit harder, but I don't really want to have like no HP. So you can really like fandangle the difficulty exactly how you want it to be challenging you. You can like turn off some of the yellow of like all the things that you can climb on, which really bothers me in games. Everything's just like plastered with like bright yellow paint. Some of it, there is still a lot of yellow stuff in the game, but you can at least like turn it down somewhat. There's a lot of really great customization. So I felt like any cons I was having in those first few hours, I could go in the settings option and fix the issue I had with the game, which was really cool. So obviously like the default settings weren't perfect for me, but they had so many things in there that I could customize it. Putting auto sprint on all the time, that was a must.
Really? I didn't even know you could do that. Okay.
Yeah, it's really great. You just constantly run in full speed.
doing
And
it.
if you just touch the stick a bit, you can still like walk slowly so you can control it. And I know, Travis, you were saying you didn't really like one of the lock picking things, right? So you just like turned that off.
Just turn it off.
Made
It's
it easier.
fantastic. Yeah, you literally just
Yeah.
go in there, you click right trigger twice down, and it's unlocked. Like, hey, good, because I did not like the mechanic for their mini game. I just thought it was like annoying and not fun to play. Like, because there's so much of it in some levels, it's like this is just not. It's not like with again Starfield. I love that lock picking. I love that scenario. This was just okay. Let's move along. Where the slicing, I like because it's just like a quick, fun little puzzle thing. You know.
Yeah. So it's great that you can customize that kind of stuff. If you're just not into it, you can just kind of opt out of it. So I think that's all really cool. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this game. I think the really my favorite part of it is just like, and it is with like Ghost of Tsushima, any of these kind of open world games where there's just camps all over the map, enemy camps, and just like stealthing through them, finding different ways to get through them. Using Nyx, I think, is a really great addition. I really like what he does for the character moveset there. And then yeah, just like that extra layer of, okay, are you in good standing with this faction? And that'll allow you to go through more doors, but maybe not all of them still. And then as you upgrade that tier more and more, you get like more and more doors you can go through. So it just changes these puzzles and these stealth challenges in like really interesting kind of immersive dynamic ways, which I think is cool. And yeah, like any Imperial base that I've tried to go through, like those are so much fun. I just absolutely love those. I think some of the quest designs are really good too. There's really fun stuff you're having to do. It's not quite as just like follow the line on the ground to figure things out, which to your point, Taylor, I've had to pull up 2 YouTube videos to find out what I was doing wrong in a certain situation. So I'm with you on that. But I think for the most part, I'll take that a couple of YouTubes at the cost of like the game not just like telling me exactly what to do all the time, where you have to like actually search an area, and it's not just like, oh, search an area, but like we're actually going to show you exactly where the thing is that you have to going to get. So I think there's a lot of really good stuff like that. And then Travis, I completely agree with you on the story. I think the overall story is pretty lame. The characters in this game almost across the board are very uninteresting, but like the element of being friends or enemies with these different factions and the push and pull of that, I think that's where the more interesting stories are coming from. And it's a very personal thing, and it's very gameplay focused, and like, you know, reacting to the kind of gameplay choices you're taking. So that for me, like, that's a better story than I would prefer than just like a single player linear thing anyway. It's really, really nice. So I definitely have some cons along the way. There's a lot of like little things in this game that are annoying or a little bit janky, but for the most part, I'm just really, really enjoying this game. So I'm excited to just keep playing more of it, and I don't know, we'll see how I feel by the end of it, because I think some of these mechanics maybe don't have as much depth as I was hoping for, but I'm enjoying it way more than I ever expected. So that's really good.
Nice.
I think where I want to jump first is just talking about the scoundrelness out of this game, the outlawness of it. Travis, you mentioned really enjoying that. Taylor, how about you as a Star Wars super fan? How do you feel like this game's doing at like that power fantasy of being an outlaw, being a scoundrel? Do you think it's kind of fitting with the mechanics? Is it pulling it off for you in that way?
For me, as a Star Wars fan, scoundrels have always been at the bottom of the list. I put, bounty hunters, Jedi, Sith. Those are
Even the politicians. You put them above
politicians.
The
Oh yeah.
Skywalker,
Coruscant
Mothma
chamber.
game.
Yeah. But I think the game does a great job at allowing you to play that role of a scoundrel with the factions and trying to make a name for yourself. The big job to get you out of this line of work for good. I think it's really, really fun. And I think that the character, because I didn't really speak much on the story, the character is interesting enough. I like that. I'm a sucker for a good droid character, and I like what's his name, ND5. Super cool. He's a separatist assassin droid that's been reprogrammed, and I really like that. I think that's a lot of fun. So his character's cool. I don't know if you guys have gotten to him yet. I guess actually you would have, Dylan, because yeah, I won't say that because Travis, I don't think you've gotten to him yet.
I know who he is, but
You
no,
know
I've
he
not
is,
gone to him. Yeah.
Yeah, so super cool character, but yeah, having this kind of connection to the syndicates, I think that it's a lot of fun. I think it's a good stepping stone. If we get a sequel to this game or whatever they do next, that's where I get really, really excited to see where they take this kind of ranking system amongst these syndicates and kind of amplify it. I felt disappointed in the fact that once I hit maximum like reputation with a syndicate, I got all the rewards and there wasn't really anything else really pulling me in or kind of keeping me there. So you just jump to the next syndicate to maximize your reputation
You
with
have
them.
maximum rep with a syndicate right now?
With Crimson Dawn and the
God.
Ashiga. So I did it with two of them, and it did not take long at all.
I was gonna say that would be a con for me because I love that, and I guess I do agree with you. It'd be great if there was more to it as far as with the maximize it, but for me it was just okay. I remember I had a couple bad jobs with the pikes, and it's like, okay, I really got to focus on the pikes, and I did like 2 jobs, and I was back to like good standing. And I wish that maybe was a little difficulty. Sure, in the time, like, oh, good, I'm with the pikes, but it does just feel like you accept a couple of job contracts, and you can fix that right away. And I felt like. Maybe I was wrong at the beginning of the game. I felt like they were trying to say like the more you did for one would hurt the other. That happens sometimes, but even if there was like a mission where okay, I took a pike contract and it was to go into Crimson Dawn and trace like put a tracker there, right? That was unbeknownst to them. Now I didn't get caught, so it was fine, but I still thought, oh, because I put a tracker, my reputation with Dawn would go down, but it didn't. So I do like the aspect of okay, if you don't get caught, but I wish that maybe that those bars were less, like it was not so powerful, or there was more push and pull that okay, every pike contract you take, it's going to hurt the other 2 to 3, right? Or vice versa. So you really have to pick, because I thought you would have to go, okay, you can maybe have like poor to good relationships with somebody, but you can only have the perfect relationship with one. And I don't know if I like that you could have them with all of them, because that seems like, well, that's kind of what the game pitch of like, oh, every decision matters, and I feel like to a point it stops. So
I like my hand being forced. So let's say, for
Yes.
example, I was doing a mission for Crimson Dawn, and the guy, the contact I was working with, he interrupts me as I'm nearing completion of this mission, and he gives me like a choice here, like, okay, my decision will either benefit Crimson Dawn and boost my rating, or it'll benefit the Pikes and lower my rating with Crimson Dawn. And it's basically I can kill this guy or I can work with him. And I like that dynamic. It's like, okay, now my hand is forced mid-mission where I thought I was going to boost my reputation with one syndicate. I can boost it or I can turn my back on them. So those kind of things are nice, and I like that. And that's happened actually quite a few times. But aside from that, it is nice that some of the missions you do for the syndicates, it shows you, okay, this will be a little bit of a boost, higher boost, or like a maximum boost. But that is unfortunate that it's so, I found it quick to do, and the benefits to stick with that high reputation, like once I explore their hideouts, there's not really much else to do. And like the stores, you buy the stuff from the stores, money has not been a problem. Like it's freaking everywhere. I would have liked it if it was a little bit difficult, but I buy everything I need in the stores when I can at the maximum reputation, and then I carry on, and then there's nothing pulling me back to those stores, that incentive. So
I am so surprised that you were able to max out 2 syndicates at this point. Travis, have you maxed one out as well?
no, but Dawn is like it's getting close. Like it's I was working on Dawn the most because Kira fan, and then pikes are good, and the huts I haven't pissed them off or made them good because I've been in the first planet. There's just not much huts, and I know there's the 4th one, but Dawn is very close because I was just doing a lot of contracts with Dawn just because I would plan it out of, okay, look at them and they just happen to all be in a similar area and they're all Dawns. Like, hey, I guess I'm taking these 3 contracts because it's like a bing, bang, boom. So I did find it goes, same thing with Pike. At one point I was in a bad relationship, but it took me a couple contracts and maybe one bigger story thing, and I was back to being good with Pikes. And I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be when I got to bed, I'm like, oh man, this sucks. Like this is really gonna hurt me for a while. But it took all you have to do is just really focus on somebody. So yeah, I'm close with Dawn to being to the tippy top.
Right.
One of the things that I think might have helped me kind of get my reputation up was instead of working directly with, I think her name is Danka, the Mon Calamarian, there are certain like other characters like droids and stuff that give you independent contracts, and those contracts give you really high boosts with your reputation for certain crime syndicates. So I did a few of those. That might have been where I...
Yeah, it's just so interesting to hear how you guys have had a totally different experience with that system than I have, where I feel like for all of them, I've been like threading that needle back and forth. I'm like staying near the 50. I've gone against the Pikes like I always throw them under the bus, so that one really
too.
dropped
Yeah,
low.
me too. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about them. So they've dropped really low in my book, so I feel like it's probably not likely at this point. Unless like once again, I could just spend the hours and go grind just contract over contract, get that number up, but I don't really want to do that. Because I want to live with my consequences to some extent. But even with the Crimson Dawn, you know, like I'm siding with them over the Pikes. But then again, it's like I also I'll pick up a contract if it's worth a lot that has me going into the Crimson Dawn base to steal something. And you know what? Naturally, I fuck up every once in a while. I get caught, and then I have to fight them, and then I'm losing some rep here or there. So I feel like for Crimson Dawn, I initially sided with them after the initial quest, and then a couple fuck ups later dropped into the negative again. And then I fought I had to do a couple quests to really get back to just good again, so I could go back in their base to do something else there. And then with the Hutts, once again, up and down, up and down. I've been positive, negative. I haven't met the fourth faction yet at this point. So for me, the system is working like perfectly, where it's making these really fun stories of going back and forth. I haven't found it very quick at all. Even Crimson Dawn, who I've really never taken a quest against them, it's just because I've like fucked up and accidentally killed someone and got spotted for it. is even that it's like it's still in the good category. I haven't even progressed to the second bar of there's like 3 tiers, right? 3 positive and negative tiers for like each one that you can have there. So I wonder why that is. Maybe I'm just fucking up a lot more and getting caught. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not exactly sure. But I like too, like one thing I thought was pretty cool is there's different like intel that you'll get as like a collectible, and you can just sell it. But depending on which merchants you sell it to, if it's a merchant that's kind of working with the Pike Syndicate, Crimson Dawn, that'll also like build you up some favor. So when I was getting really low on the Pikes for a bit, I did a little bit of that just to kind of get my rep up a little bit so I wasn't getting punished as hard. So I think that's a pretty cool mechanic. And then I just like the variety that adds, and I feel like that would open up a lot of doors for replayability. Not that this is the kind of game I'd want to replay. I would just keep doing the same, save file until I've done everything.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, like different bases. I think it's really impressive that each enemy base in this game is designed that it is like a little place you can just go hang out and talk to people, buy from merchants, get some upgrades for your speeder, that kind of thing. But then there's like these layers of like, okay, this building you can't go in until you're higher tier. Then once you're higher tier, you can get in there, but then there's always like these extra layers that you can or can't enter. And I think that's really, really cool and really impressive that each base is kind of designed that way. And obviously I'm still on my first playthrough, so maybe if I played it again, maybe I wouldn't feel that way if I really analyzed it. But for right now, it's feeling like really cool. Even Crimson Dawn, who I'm close with, there's like certain doors I can't get through. It makes like screwing them over a little bit harder.
I was gonna ask, as you're the top with Crimson Dawn, do you remember on that first planet there's that station that you got to do sneak by like every time? Like you haven't done the vault, but it's one where you can walk in and then it's like a little kind of
Like
platform,
circle,
a little
There's like a ship
circle
up there.
Yeah, and there's like a fan. Does that eventually go away, or is that always a restricted area?
When I was maximum reputation with Crimson Dawn and the Force Syndicate, I could go into the areas, but there was always still that this is a restricted area part. You can't
I
go
swear, I've had to. There's one con for me, and maybe it's just because I spent on the station, did a lot of side quests, or that planet a lot of side quests. But I've 4 separate times had to been like, oh, in the intel, you got to sneak in this area, and it's that stupid plot on the Crimson Dawn. And it was also because my vault was there. So again, there's stuff that I've wanted to do, but that's one thing I'd say is I wish there was maybe
I
multiple.
swear there's a tooltip that says it does that, so I'm kind of surprised that there is that. There must still be tiers to some extent, but I don't know. I assumed that area would eventually be a place you could just walk in freely.
So I wish there was maybe other mini areas if it wasn't a restricted area. It was always the exact same Crimson Dawn. Because even in Crimson Dawn on that planet, there's another area on the planet that's just like a Crimson Dawn area. So I wish it was like maybe it bounced back and forth, because that's one time I found, okay, I'm getting a little sick of going to this place. And that's when I got back to the main quest. Like, I'm going to stop this. But that's one thing of mine where there's maybe sometimes some locations, if you do a few quests back to back that aren't the main story, could get repetitive, and it's all luck of the draw, right? It's the same thing like Dylan, you're talking about with the syndicate stuff. It's probably just because you guys have done more main story with me, where like Taylor's talking about those contracts, if you get some big swing ones right away, you just like boost up very fast. So but restricted area, annoying for me, go away.
I think it's really cool that the like stealing from your faction, or even like killing or knocking out people from your faction, as long as it doesn't become public info, you don't get caught, that doesn't affect your rep at all. I think that's really great. There's so many games, even favorites of mine like Bethesda games, are really bad about that, where if you do anything to a faction member, it's like immediately global information that everyone on the planet knows, and then you get screwed over for it. It's like, man, no one saw me do this. It doesn't make any sense that this information would get around. Even in the case where like you can go in a room, maybe I'm trying to take out one guy, but I get caught by someone else. And so there's like 3 or 4 Crimson Dawn people all looking at me, and I take all of them out. If I take all of them out before an alarm goes off or before they tell more people, then even that doesn't lower my rep, because it wasn't like public information beyond that one room. So I think that's really cool that it works that way. And yeah, I'm stealing all the time from Crimson Dawn. But trying to find that like right spot of like trying to hide, trying to maybe sneak in rooms I'm not allowed in, even though I'm close with this faction. And I think like, and maybe I'm doing that too much, and that's why my rep is dropping a lot, because even the huts, I was like going through this base because I had a couple pieces of equipment I was trying to get there, multiple times getting caught, and then I just ran out there. I didn't want to kill everyone, but just ran out of there, kind of reset the stealth puzzle a little bit. I'm not doing any save scumming, so I'm living with my consequences here. And I don't know, I really, really enjoy that part of it. I love just stealing from my faction without it being just public info. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've stolen a lot from the kitchens and the Crimson Dawn area. Just walk by, take that food. But no, I agree with you. I like that, because it's that for me is more the scoundrel thing too, because it makes you feel a bit more like, oh yeah, I'm pulling one over on these guys. Where if you did that and you always got punished, then it's like, okay, then it just feels like, well, I'm Team Crimson Dawn now. Like they are my people. It's like I still feel like they're my people, but if there's like some coils I need, yeah, I'll take that and go sell them for a couple bucks. Like I think that adds to the okay, I am a good person, because clearly I think they said that a couple times in marketing. Kay is for sure a good person. They are on the light side. Like they are doing some stealing things, but they're always like, okay, in the story, if there's something really bad, they're gonna go with the light side. But I like in those instances the same thing. I'm like, yeah, if I gotta knock out a Crimson Dawn person, that's what I gotta do. So I think that adds to my playthrough of enjoying it again, maybe more so not in the main mission on the side, because yeah, I can just still be, and it feels more scummy that way. I can have the best relationship with Crimson Dawn, but I'm still like screwing them over on the side. So that's what I like. Okay, big decisions, Kay's a good guy, but little stuff, I need some money to get by. So I enjoy that factor, what you brought up, that you don't get caught. So
yeah, I feel like not enough games let you double cross against the factions. Like you sign up with them, you do their quests, and that's it. That's the game right there. So I really like the push and pull.
In terms of getting caught, I'm curious how far you've pushed the wanted factor with the Empire, because when the Death Troopers come out, man, it's fucking game
I haven't
over.
yet that. I want to. I think I got to, because how many is there 10? Is it? What is like 10 notches?
It looks like a six like
It looks like
hexagon,
6,
I think.
yeah.
Okay, then I've gotten to, I think maybe 3/4. I got to when they showed it with a whole shuttle, and then they started to come out, and that was like, oh shit. But
Have you had
luckily,
the walkers?
no, I haven't got the walkers. Luckily, I just get to a tower, and I bought my wanted off. But I think I will. I should have done that for this one. But the Death Troopers, that's can you even kill them? Are they?
I've tried. So like I hit a base, and this is when I was dealing with the slicer lady, and she just fucks off and leaves you behind, and is like,
Good
okay,
luck.
the whole base is on alert, and I had to fight my way out of that, and that was
a great mission.
that was crazy, and it was a lot of fun. But getting out and then my wanted level getting maxed after I left the base a little bit, then yeah, the shuttle lands nearby and the Death Troopers come out, and these guys, I don't think I did any damage, and I was throwing grenades and everything, and they would one shot from them to me would take half of my health down.
Wow, crazy.
They were so freaking tough. I didn't get close to them. I was just trying to fight them from a distance, but I'm gonna try and go back and see if I can actually fight them because I've almost finished maxing out my gun upgrades in two of the tiers, and now with this and some extra back to health, because that's another nice thing too. You can actually wear certain items for your character that give you benefits, but you can change the appearance if you like how some of the other things look, which is kind of nice.
Oh, right. Just like Hogwarts Legacy kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a nice benefit, but I want to go back and try and like fight them. I haven't even bothered with an ATST because those things are just friggin' they're big. And even though you get like your ion blaster and stuff like that, I just don't think it's going to be enough to take one of those things down yet. So
yeah,
You need, like, a
I've
grenade
not,
launcher.
I've not really been too successful in a large scale battle like that. It's just so hard, like with being limited with a pistol, and you can pick up weapons off the ground, but you can't have them on you actively, so you can't just have like a AR or grenade launcher ready to go. And I find like the throwing grenades is very awkward. You're gonna like hold the D-pad,
It's not
hit
great.
A, and then right trigger. That's something I should look in the settings for and see if there's like a better way to do it. Just because it's a little awkward. But no, I don't think I've gotten super high. I think I've maybe got like 3 or 4. I found like I barely did anything, and I like it jacked that wanted level up like hardcore. It's very different than GTA, where GTA feels like a very step based thing that's kind of linearly building up the more damage you do. Or they feel like this, you just as soon as you get caught, you already have quite a few dials on that ring tapped out there. And then like the story moments where you're like forced into being wanted. I feel like those ones I've been on like the higher tiers, but I guess just on my own chaos I haven't. And I find that it's really hard to get rid of that wanted level. Like Travis, you mentioned you can go and like pay off the bounty. I think there's like certain machines you can like hack into and like remove your bounty.
You just
there
find
as
an
well.
Imperial Tower and you get in there and it's like that.
Right. I guess
Yeah.
I just like in the middle of a wanted, like it's hard for me to know where any of those things are. I don't know like the maps well enough perhaps, but
Because that is like a little like world breaky where, okay, what I'll do is, let's say I'm halfway one, whatever. People are after me. I found an Imperial Tower. The Imperial people will be after me. But the second I go in there, get into the tower and pay it off, they're like, oh, well, he's gone, or she's gone. And that's it. So it's literally, they saw me run in there,
Yeah, a little
their
gimmicky.
guns ready, and if you pay it off. So I do that because it's like, okay, to get them off my back, but I wish it maybe was not that easy. Even it was, okay, I know in GTA, the joke, oh, you hide behind a trash can, but even then, like, something like that, I do that necessity and for time, but it is, and maybe in the future I'll stop doing that, but it is something, okay, it should at least be the people at the tower still go, okay, why is this girl just hanging out in our thing, so
and you can just outrun them too. Half the time I'm on my speeder bike, I just go, and they're like, "Oh, we've called the search off." It's like, okay, good.
yeah.
wow, once again, it sounds like way easier for you guys than it has been for me to get rid of my wanted level here. I am on the highest difficulty for enemies, so I don't know if that's part of it potentially, but
Could be, yeah.
the reason I did that is I just found it weird. Like I found like some of the stealth, like I was never like the action stuff. I found always a little bit difficult just because of the limitations of your character in terms of being like an action hero. But for me, it was like the stealth stuff was a bit too easy, and I really liked the levels. But I was just finding that it was a bit too easy to sneak around people. Like people would be like looking at me, and like I wouldn't be getting caught. And so that's when I went and turned that up, because I think even on like the normal difficulty, I don't think I had never at least noticed an enemy like spotting like a friend's body on the ground. Like they just walk by bodies. But once I turned the difficulty up, they started like, if they see a body on the ground, they like search the whole area. They'll call for backup even sometimes to come try and find whoever did that. So I really enjoyed that. And I even like turned it down a little because it was a bit too hard. And then I got some more upgrades for my character and then turned it back up to the max difficulty. So I'd recommend trying that because it might give you guys a bit more of a challenge with some of these things and make them a bit more intense, because I found like, anytime I've been wanted, it's been a pretty treacherous situation. And then making the stealth a little bit harder I think is definitely a good thing. It was maybe a touch too easy for me on the standard difficulty there. But what do you guys think of the stealth stuff in general? I guess Taylor, as the Assassin's Creed expert, I'm sure this shares a ton of similarities with the Assassin's Creed kind of stealth system, but what do you think of that?
It does. Like, I like the smoke bombs. I like being able to like slice into different things where you can deactivate turrets, unlock doors, different stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it does get kind of repetitive just because you're crouched, you're dodging a camera, and then just go up and you just like bop a guy. And then the stun blaster is nice. That's a lot of fun.
Especially the
So-
like I love doing the fast talking. If they come up and you do the I don't know what I'm doing, and then it's like okay,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that they give you kind of like a brief bit of time that you can really kind of disarm and disable them before anyone starts firing their blaster and it goes to a full-on alert and then a battle. But yeah, no, it's okay. I'm content with it. Nyx is a lot of fun to use in these situations as well because you can distract and you can kind of sneak in behind. So he's cool. He sabotages too, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just got that upgrade for the alarm traps. You can,
Yeah.
the alarms, you can set a trap on them, which is really nice.
Yeah, and I like how he's part of the kind of like the assassination animated, or what would you call it? Just a sequence where you go up and it's like a cinematic is what it is, where you just go up and you're executing them, and like Nyx will just like, grab the gun out of their hand or like grab their arm and pull them down, and you just punch them in the face. It's just cool. It's neat.
Yeah, absolutely. How about we take our first break here, and after that we'll get back into it. But just a couple quick things. Did you know that Patreon is a great way to support us? What we do here, you get episodes early, you get episodes ad free. We have all sorts of retrospectives that go up there. If you join at the highest tier, you can request that we do a review for any movie or game. We haven't said no to anyone yet, so we keep doing them. So please give us some wacky suggestions, and we'll see where our limits are. You can also join our Discord. You can leave a review to help the show. What's going on in the Star Wars world? Is there anything? What's coming up next? Because Acolyte ended like a couple months ago.
Skeleton Crew in December, so that we will. Well, Kirkland and Taylor will be reviewing that,
Right.
and then or sometime next year. So we'll be around for all that jazz, and hopefully a movie soon.
Yeah. Well, if anyone is listening to this and they are a new listener, we have a shit ton of Star Wars content. We have a episode review for every single one of the live action shows that have happened. You guys did some of the animated shows as well. Every movie we have a review for or a retrospective for. Reviews for the both Jedi Star Wars Jedi games. I guess
Jedi Order, and
games? Is
Jedi
that the
Survivor,
most...
right?
Yeah,
I think it's a Jedi game.
The Jedi games.
Yeah.
We have reviews for those.
Yeah,
we have a review for Lego Star Wars from a couple years ago. So we got you covered on the Star Wars front, and even some books you guys have done too, right? So oh my god, even breaking out of the visual world in that way. So very very cool stuff. Any other shout outs from you guys on what's hitting the feeds or anything?
Beetlejuice
this week. Yeah, you got that. You got we're back with Rings of Power every week for the next few weeks, and Agatha and Penguin soon. And I think that's about it. And for patrons, I just dropped that episode of the originals, which was a very fun one. So go check that out. And then it's far out, but next month we're recording them already. But next month starts the Fantastic Four retro. So if you're waiting to jump on Patreon, that's a good time, because I think those F4 retros are going to cause some. I think there gonna be some fun reviews, because they're not the best movies, and I think that's usually our best times. Where we're like, oh, what happened here, you know? So good stuff happening.
Yeah, so there you go. That's what's going on, and we're gonna throw to a quick ad break, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We were talking about stealth. Travis, what do you think about the stealth? As my fellow Ghost of Tsushima head. I don't know. Not that we need to compare them, but what do you think about this?
I was gonna say it's not that. Ghost of Tsushima is like peak. Like, man, this is great. I think with Taylor, where it gets really repetitive. This sounds like a dumb thing to say, but without Nyx, I would maybe put this on a failing grade. Now you can't, because they put it in the game. That's the way. But it's just like because Nyx is around all the time, whether you're on stealth. So that helps, and they build a lot of things around him. So that is great, and that's an added thing, and that makes it a little fresh. But I think that is, especially if you get, I think, too many missions in a row, there is a lot of stealth missions, and if the area is not that exciting, or it's just, okay, I got to get into another camp where it's lots of grass and lots of rocks. So it's not Ghost. It's not like Batman Arkham. So for me, it's like... I would say I don't even want to say above average, but I guess I could say above average, because like the Nyx stuff puts it in there. But it's fine. I think that is one of those things where if I do too much, I go, okay, I need a break from this game. I think it's better in the main game levels, like that Empire. It sounds like we've all played that level because you had to update the speeder. When it was a main game one, that was great, because it's all they've planned it out. It's not that they haven't planned it, but if it's just, hey, go to this base and sneak in, there's 5 different points, which is fun because you could pick your path. But I do think the ones that are very designed, like the main quest, where it's you got to do a specific thing, you got to go on a wall, you got to go through this vent. I like those ones better because I feel like, okay, this is some stealth. It feels high intensity when you got to hit this vehicle and you press the A button and you got to walk alongside and not script. Like, that's like, okay, this is a great set piece right here. So main quest stuff, I think it works. The side quest, I think they could have maybe trimmed a lot of those out and left most of the, I'm not saying take them all out, but most of the stealth stuff for the main game. But then again, maybe if people did the streamlining of the main game, they'd go, it's just nothing but stealth. So it's good enough. And it is weird. I've felt that complaint too, where you never really know where their eyes are. Not in a good way. I feel like there's sometimes where I walk right by them and they see nothing. And then here's a good example of, I don't know what the barometer is for taking someone out and alerting them. I've had it where it felt like they were 5 feet away and I take out their friend and they look and go, hey, and the alarms go off, and I've done it and they don't move a muscle. So I feel like there's no consistency there with something like the Hangman game and Hitman game. I usually know, okay, this is the radius I'm working with here. That's like a great self game, right? This is like, if I know they're looking this direction, they probably can't see me. Where this game, it's kind of been a little iffy. So, enjoyed it, but not anything. It's not up there with those top kind of 3 or 4 I've mentioned. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I mean, definitely comparing this to Hitman, which is like the masterclass in stealth design, and like you as the player have all the information to make the right decision, and then obviously sometimes things go awry, but for the most part, like you kind of know what to expect. I think that I definitely agree with that. There has been some weird times where I don't understand exactly what the distance is, but that's usually where I would just use Nyx to distract and try and separate those characters farther away from each other to make it a bit more obvious. But yeah, I think where I'm liking it is just the freedom of it, I suppose. Like, I feel like any one of these levels, areas that we've talked about, with the exception of like the main, even some of the main quest has like very linear sections, obviously, and it's very set piecey, as you mentioned, but other ones, and also just the side missions or random camps you go to, I feel like there's really no set one path. Like, there's 3 or 4 maybe ways in. There's all sorts of different ways you could go. You could take out all the enemies. You could just try and sneak past them. But I think for me, what happens most of the time is it starts with a stealth sequence, and then at some point I'll get caught and it turn into a full-blown battle, which I think is really great design. I always loved. That's like my ideal way to play Dishonored, is everything's going perfectly until it doesn't, and then I just got to live with the consequences and see if I can salvage the situation. And in this game, that it feels even more punishing because of the faction side of it. It's like, I fucked up, and now Crimson Dawn, I'm dropping back in my thing, as I mentioned earlier. So I think that's it's all working really well for me, and I don't know, I'm just liking the stealth mechanics. I like the zapper, the stun gun that you have, the other weapons you have. I think Nyx, all the different tools that he has are really fun and engaging. I haven't used the smoke bomb a bunch yet. The one time I did use it, I was trying to it was in a very highly public area, and there was a door that I had to hack through. I'm like, I don't see a single possible way to do this, with the exception of just dropping a smoke bomb and maybe this will work. But the smoke bomb seemed to be really loud, and it alerted everyone who was around me, and then they all came gunning for me. So I still have to get used to how the smoke bomb works. I think it's more of you get caught, you drop it, and then you can escape easier. I feel like that's maybe more it, rather than dropping a smoke bomb to try and stealthily, sneakily do something. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. And then we've talked about the combat a little bit. I like the variety of the guns. I maybe wish you could have some of these weapons with you at different times, rather than just them being pickups. I like the idea of them having limited ammo, so you're kind of in almost like a John Wickian sort of way, just picking up a weapon, firing 3 shots from it, dropping it, moving into the next thing. I really like that element of it. I like that this game has active reload. I think that adds some franticness to the combat situations. There's explosive barrels everywhere in this game. You have your homie Nyx fighting alongside you sometimes. So I'm really liking the combat. I think it's a lot of fun so far. I'm curious what it'll be like to fight some of these bigger battles or bigger enemies, as you mentioned, Taylor. Some of these big, what are the AT-ATs, the 2 feet things that walk around?
ATSTs, yeah.
ATSTs. Yeah, I have not fought one of those yet, and I'm very scared for when I have to, whereas I feel like when I got to those in Jedi Survivor, I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking easy. I got them. But in this, I don't even know how I'm going to kill them yet, and that's kind of an exciting thought. So I'm curious what other kind of enemies are going to pop out there. I think maybe one definitely big critique on the combat is there's creatures and animals in this game, and they just like I don't know. That feels like it was an afterthought that was put in like a couple months prior, where the combat's very simple and like they also don't have like they're not like proper physics objects. I don't know if you've ever slammed into any animal full speed with your speeder, but they don't move an inch, and you just fly off your speeder bike across the. It's like hitting a tree in GTA with a car, where trees are for whatever reason just immortal objects.
Unstoppable.
So, yeah. So I don't know. For the most part, I'm enjoying the combat. I'm hoping that the more upgrades I get, that's what keeps it engaging when I get deeper into the game. Because right now it's pretty basic, but it is kind of like the last ditch effort. If my stealth didn't go correctly, then that's when it's popping up.
You say getting flung off the scooter or speeder. I have
scooter. What you got playing with over there?
There's a few times where I've been flung off of it and I land, but I fall halfway through the map and I can't move properly.
Whoa.
There's been times where I'm trying to go through doors in certain rooms, but random computer players and PCs are just standing there and you can't get in, so I got to reload so they don't appear there. Weird. I've had a bunch of like characters duplicating, like ND5 has appeared in like 2 of them at the same time. There's a lot of problems with this game.
I luckily not have any of that glitches. Yeah. Really, I've had like maybe like frame rate drop a little, look a little like sloggy, but I've never had, because I've seen people have that where they're like they get off their bike and it just like shoots them across them. Like I've seen what you're talking about, but I have so far luckily not had any of that.
Have you seen the T pose? I've seen a lot of guys doing that.
No,
and they get off their speeder bike and they're gliding T pose like around.
I've seen that with not a T pose,
and that was it. Like it's been pretty bugless for me. You know, other than like I don't know, I've had a couple situations where I was trying to stealth knock some guy out, and then I think I was like a bit too far away, so I just like punched him. But like that's not really a glitch. It's more just like user error, I think. So yeah, I have not had a very buggy time so far. Other than like I think maybe the speeder at first was really buggy for me, and then when I got it upgraded, it was like working better. So maybe that was just like intentional that it was very janky. But especially when you get like the jump, it helps a lot to just get over certain situations. But no, that's too bad that you're having a glitchier time with it. How about this though, Tay? How about space combat? Because I know you love space combat. How are you feeling about that in this game?
Everything space related, like I don't mind it, but it's a little underwhelming. I was kind of thinking it's gonna be something better. Like I thought I'd be taking off and flying from the planet up, but it might as well just be like the same as Starfield. I know people were making those comparisons, like, oh, well, you can just fly out from the planet, but it's the same thing. Like it shows you your schematics, and I felt like that was deceiving because it shows you your navigation, like your controls and stuff, whatnot, as you're taking off and flying up. But there's no reason for that. It's just one long cutscene that you can skip basically, and then you appear in space. The fighting and the space combat, it is fun, but Star Wars Battlefront, like Squadrons, I'm not going to count, but Star Wars Battlefront, that space combat, I love it. It's way better, and I feel like this could have been. It's similar, but it's just kind of boring. I would love it if there was a little bit more you could do with the ship, but it's not the main thing. I get it. Your main focus of this game and the main trajectory is just being on the planets and being a scoundrel, and the space combat is just kind of second to that, which I totally understand. But there are some things that just is exploration that I do enjoy. When I went to Kijimi, that was freaking fantastic because I felt like it was from the Solo movie going to Kessel, because there's like these beacons and you're going through a nebula. So the beacons highlight where you fly through. And when you drift out into the nebula, you can't see shit, but there's big ice chunks moving. You got to like dodge. It's super cool. So I love being able to fly around the outside of the planets. When I pulled up to another planet, there was just a huge cartel battle with capital ships going on. I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. So that was neat. But just finding random stations and debris you can blast off or blast open, take the loot, whatnot. That's pretty cool. Helping random frigates is pretty fun. So there's a lot of neat things that I really do appreciate. But I find I'm not racing to get into space. Even though like I've upgraded my ship a little bit, it still can get pretty overwhelming pretty fast. So
Travis, how about you?
Yeah, I'll say if I like the feeling better than Starfield, which we talked about many times where that's just very clunky. I I've never played Squadron. Well, I guess I think I played Squadrons once during a stream or something. I think we busted out or something. I remember having my hands on it. I'm waiting to play one of these space games where the spaceship just feels like, man, I want to be in space the whole time. I think I agree with some things Taylor said, and I think that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the feeling of the game. I think being in space, the surroundings, the layout, that's great. The actual look of it, it feels like Star Wars. I like what Taylor said, where, okay, you look off the distance and there's just, you can see, a Star Destroyer, right? And it's just there, and there's stuff going on. Like, I like it has its own little sections. I like being in space. I guess I should say, and yeah, the movement. I don't necessarily love the fighting in space. Maybe I don't have my ship really upgraded at all, so that's one thing I'll say. That's my least thing. So I think actually no, I got like I think like a shield on there, but even just I feel like I know it sounds dumb, but I feel like even in combat the ships are just like they're too small, the enemy ships that you're fighting against sometimes. Like I know they're far away and they got a tracking symbol, but just sometimes it just feels like you're just shooting against rocks. So I just feel like even if it's a little unrealistic to make that size, and I get what they're kind of trying to do. They're trying to make, I think, the space combat be very fast, but I would like it if your ship was slowed down and they were slowed down so you could have a more cinematic feel. So I think, again, kind of like actually, no, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's subpar, the action, but the actual being in space, I don't mind. I like traveling. I like the speed of the ship, where the like I said, the the stealth I think is above average, and eventually get bored of the fighting in space. It's not anything that I haven't had one of those experiences where I'm like, man, I loved this. It's kind of like, oh, I have to do this and get through it. Maybe it'll change, but yeah, it's not great still, and I'm waiting for one game to really crack that of this new generation. Maybe I'd have to try Squadrons out again, Taylor, and see what it's like. But
Squadrons is like, it's really in depth with what they did.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't count it. I just, in terms of space
yeah.
combat, like you said it, like traveling in here is nice, but the combat is just, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really think of a game where I like this space combat. I think I like Starfields more, but I don't like Starfields at all. So it just shows you how little I like what's going on here. I've also like pretty much opted out of doing any of that so far. Like there was, a main quest or two that took me out to space where I had to do some of that, but otherwise I haven't really explored out there. I haven't done many contracts out in space. I did one because I wanted to get an upgrade for one of my things, but otherwise I'm not spending any time out there, so it's not something I've done much. I know I have a side quest right now to like get an additional gun holstered on my ship, so maybe that'll make it more interesting, but I don't know. I'm just not really interested in doing that stuff. I think I'm just really enjoying the detail of the planet so far. Like I like the size of these open worlds because it's like, how are they going to make 4 open world planets like in this game? That's going to be insane. But it's like, okay, the open worlds are not overwhelming. You can kind of cruise from one side to the other on one of these maps in like, I don't know, 10 minutes or less or something. So I'm really liking just exploring the locations. I found that the first planet is way more interesting than Tatooine that I went to next. And in fact, I feel like just in general, like the quest design and stuff, like the first area is so much more engaging than that second part was. Still having a good time, of course, but I don't know. Maybe I just picked incorrectly. But Taylor, would you say was that the same for you, or did you like the Kijimi like about as much as you did to Shada? I think is the name of that planet, right? Just like in general for gameplay and exploring and stuff.
I love the detail of Kijimi. I feel like I'm literally right in Rise of Skywalker and that planet, minus the First Order. Like the attention to detail is really, really cool. Nice. Really enjoying it, but it is significantly smaller. Tashana, I think is what it is. Massive. It is huge, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe this is the biggest planet out of all of them in terms of exploration. With how small Kijimi is, you're only in the city. As far as I know, you don't go outside into like the world or anything like that. You're only in one massive city hub, and maybe I just haven't found it yet. But there's nothing really showing me I could explore and go out of the city. So
are you not using your speeder at all on that planet then at all? Wow, no. Which I feel like shocking and really disappointing
like,
here. Actually,
I'm of two minds because I even said that to Taylor last time when we were filming. I was like, I feel like you could have just had it on Tashala and it'd just be fine. Like, just like there's one planet, there's enough there it would work. But at the same time, when then my previewing, and I checked Dylan, the 5 planets, the 5th one did include the opening Canto Bight. Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's kind of a cheat. So really 4. So I feel like it's kind of a misrepresentation. Like there's 4 planets when really it's like, I feel like there's really you do go to 4 planets, sure, but there's one planet where it's like this is a big. You can do a whole bunch. Like it feels like an actual planet. You feel like you can venture so much. Where the other ones are just kind of slices of life. So I get that they're not wrong in saying it's 4 planets, but it does, from what you guys both are saying, feels like they're just kind of a slice of life per se. Where the first planet or the second planet, that's a full. That's a game right there on that one.
I mean,
you know?
Tatooine, like you definitely go outside of. Mos Eisley's the cantina, or is that the name of the town?
Yeah, Mos Eisley. Yeah, it's Cantina, right?
Mos Eisley is the name of the spaceport.
That's the town, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the cantina is called.
So is it just?
It's some guy's name. Some guy's name Cantina, and I forget what that guy's name is, but
Is there not just a Mos Eisley Cantina, or is it the Cantina in Mos Eisley?
I
think
think
that's-
Cantina and Mos Eisley.
yeah, which is like that's still that's
You have
still
Mos
accurate to say.
Espa, Mos Eisley, those different towns.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I mean, yeah, on Tatooine, like there are a couple different little town areas, little settlements. There are like it is pretty expansive. I don't know if it's as big as Tashada. I can't tell yet, but it's pretty big. Like it seems like it's almost as big. So maybe Kajimi is just an exception because of what's going on with that planet. And I guess none of us have been to Akiva yet. Or Taylor, have you flown there yet, or are you just still on?
No,
Kajimi?
I went to Tatooine next after Kajimi.
Okay. Cool. So that's kind of the unknown right now. Wonder how big that one is. But let's see. Where do we want to go next? I think maybe talk more about some of these RPG mechanics. This is something that I'm a little bit disappointed in, but also liking enough, which is, I remember before the game came out, I thought it was really cool that the different skills and things that you're upgrading for your character are kind of contextualized by being there's these different experts across the world that you're going to be finding as you're going to these different locations, and then these experts, maybe there's like a slicing expert. This person knows all about hacking. This person knows all about the speeder. This person's like a combat person. And you meet these people, and once you've met them, then they go into your thing, and they're like kind of teaching you these skills is how it's contextualized. And so you're going around, you're getting pretty much you're either completing tasks or just getting equipment, and then you get like the upgrades to those things. I think it's way cooler in concept, and it sounded better before the game came out, and it's truly just a skill tree that has different people's pictures there instead. So I was hoping there was a bit more to it. Like maybe it would be pretty tedious if you actually go back those people once you did the prerequisites, and then they would teach you that new skill and you could do it. So I can understand why, but at least like maybe even have like a call with them, like they have your comm, right? So maybe that you could talk to them and they could, I don't know, have some line of dialogue. It just felt like a little bit half baked. But I think it makes sense in that it's like, okay, there's certain parts of the skill tree that are just going to unlock when you discover this person. So Taylor, you've probably discovered someone on Kajimi that I don't have yet, but I've already got these 2 skill trees unlocked because I've been in Tatooine. So I think like maybe the order of it is interesting, unless they just kind of like fake it and whatever, like the second planet you go to, like maybe it has those experts there.
I've got 4 experts so far, and I've maxed out. I think I'm I maxed out with 1 person, and then the other 3, I think I'm 1 off from completing all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I've maxed out 1, and then the other ones I still have 1 or 2 things to get. And then 2 more people I've discovered on Tatooine. I think I still have to actually meet them. Like I haven't actually unlocked that, but I've like it's obscure. It's popped up on the screen, but it's not quite unobscured yet. Like I can't click on it yet. So I'm guessing one of them is like a quest I'm literally doing right now is to go find this person. So I think it's a decent system, but ultimately it's kind of just more of the same. But I like for some of these it is collecting resources. Like to get a better smoke bomb, you have to get this certain materials. That makes sense. But for other ones, one of them was just like do 7 different actions with Nyx, and I really like that one. It's okay. I'm gonna get him to. I'll have to get him to distract. I got to go find an alarm, and for the last couple ones, I'm like, oh, what else have I not done with them? And it makes you wonder what other things you can do. And one of them was really cute. It was like make Nyx happy in 4 different ways. And I was like, that's great. I love that gives you like a peg on your skill tree rather than having like an EXP thing. I think that works well because I'm not incentivized when I'm going to these bases to kill every single person because there's really no bonus for doing that other than like maybe some people have some collectible you could grab off them. But for the most part, it's like once I've got my objective, I'm out of there because I'm not going to get any more XP or progress for killing every single person. So I think that just fits the theming of the game pretty well. And then as Taylor mentioned, there's your armor, your different armor that you can upgrade. You're upgrading your ship, speeder, your gun, of course. So to me, there's like enough there. There's enough carrots on the stick to get me going in these different directions, unlock some new stuff. And yeah, definitely like still a few I don't know, types of upgrades to unlock that I'm really curious how those are gonna affect my gun or affect my character. So I'm liking the system enough. I just maybe wanted it to. I thought it was gonna be a little bit better or a little bit more story focused than it actually ended up being.
Two things. One, before we get into that, is there an armor on the first planet? Because I've not bumped into them at all. Like to
what,
update
sorry?
your health and everything like that. Like, is this like find like an armor?
There's people that sell armor. I don't know if there's a guy who's
Yeah.
only armor.
But is there? Because how like I
There's
thought
like,
they were.
I probably 3 or 4 different people I've bumped into.
They made
that
it sound like it
sold
was
me
a
some armor
specific because
pieces.
I've had before. Where it's like, oh, you got to buy this part from a scavenger, and then I pulled the menu. It's like, oh, well, here's a scavenger right here. But I feel like I've not found a specific armor yet that can get my health up because I've had that for a while. And I'd like to get it up a little bit. So
2 ways you get your health up is through like the skill tree,
Yep.
like on one of those things.
and now it's like go. I did that, and then it's like go see someone to update this.
I don't know the exact situation you're talking about, but I
Okay.
definitely bought armor from people.
I'll have to look because I have all that like it's like the corn sleeve or whatever it is like that.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Maybe I just
interesting.
I feel like maybe I've just not talked to the right vendors. I guess I'll have to do a quick YouTube or something or look around because I feel like everyone I keep talking to is selling the
Maybe it's
same parts.
Because are you negative on any faction right now in terms of your reputation?
No, my
So I guess
worst
you can
is
go everywhere. Because I was gonna say maybe that was what it was. Is like a pike vendor that had this thing.
Yeah.
made.
maybe I'll go take a look into it. But yeah, I agree with you, Dylan. It's like it's pretty much just a skill tree, but I guess it's like, hey, would you want us to do the skill tree or this fun little way with the characters linked to it? I kind of like that. I like the idea of, okay, the bartender gives you like the fast talking, everything like that. So it's nothing that I agree with you. There could have been something great, and same thing we could have. If you want to be in depth, if you would have told like pick the type of scoundrel you're going to be, and maybe that would be more punishing, especially, or even I would have liked it as far as, let's say you could only get to a certain relationship with one of the crime syndicates, and maybe they only offer like, hey, okay, there's a couple other perks you can get, but you can only be like perfect good with this one. And then if you really want that, you might go, oh man, I have a poor relationship with the pikes right now, but I'd really like that skill, so let's get up there. But then encounter that, exits one from another. So I think it's kind of what we've talked about in so many RPG games where it's like it'd be great to have some sort of cutoff of you can't do this, but I do understand where that's just kind of the way games are today. So I like it as far as it's a fun little gimmick that, okay, these are, slicing's tied to a slicer, more the mechanical stuff, right? You have speedsters tied to them. So I enjoy it for the most part.
You, Taylor, any bonus things that you've discovered on your times at Kajimi? Anything interesting?
No, not necessarily. Kajimi was mostly where I was focusing just on the story, the main story missions. There are vaults there too, but I've gotten some key cards, but I haven't just been actively pursuing it.
I
As
mean,
far
if
as
money's not been an issue for you, then like I guess it's not.
That's true.
pertinent.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's I'll get to that point after this point, because with the abilities and whatnot, it's just been finding certain things, because like doing the actions, I usually knock those off quickly, and then it's just, for me, it's a matter of, I need to find like this Durasteel whatever or this other item specifically, and then you find that, and then I can do the unlock. I don't like how when you get it, you have to actually go into your abilities and actually hit a button to hit unlock. This should just be automatic, I feel like, but I get it. You're probably getting the items, and maybe you don't want to use those items on that specific unlock, which
Yeah.
does make sense in retrospect. But sometimes like, I forgot to go in and unlock this ability. That's annoying, but not a deal breaker or anything like that. So
Fair enough.
I was gonna say though, when it comes to making credits, I like doing the different mini games, the fathier racing. I love that it's rigged, because usually you find your data pads. It's like, bet on the one that weighs the most, bet on the one that's the tallest or whatnot. It's like, okay, do that, and then you win, because it's all rigged. Doing the memory following icon game, that's a lot of fun. You can get a good payout with that. But Sabak is where I love the Sabak. Like, it took me one game to figure it out. But I'm on a win streak. I haven't lost, and to me, it's so much fun. I like the rules. I like the setup, the system, and just kind of like playing. You can cheat in it, but I don't like to cheat. I like to just
I don't
play
either.
the hands.
I feel like I can beat them without it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel like the game gives you enough when someone discards a card and they're discarding twos. You go, okay, they're looking for a 1. So they
Yeah.
like either you're hoping that they just have like the what's that card called when it can shape shift into another one. Remember it's like it has the 3 symbols
I
and
know
then
what
you
you
roll
mean,
dot.
yeah.
So it's like you either know they have that or a 1. But if they're like discarding 4s to 5s, okay, I think I got this guy. So I haven't found the need to cheat. The only card that was messing me up was for a while I kept missing it because you have those kind of whatever power cards where it's like, oh, retrieve 2 credits or skip a turn or whatever it may be. It's one that one guy kept using and it was making that morphing card to 6, but I kept missing it. So every time I play the dice and it's like, oh, 6, I'm like, I didn't even roll. Why is he giving me a 6? But then I just realized, okay, and it's so funny. On my next playthrough, I just sat out because every time I did it, I lost 3 times because I was not reading his prompt that he was playing this card. So like, okay, for the first game, I'm just gonna sit out. He didn't even play the card, and then he just lost all his chips and he was out. So I was like, I don't know if that's a random thing or whatnot, but it's been fun to play Sabak when like I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I can fully admit like I've never played Sabak in real life. I've never been like, what are the rules of Sabak? It's like, oh, this is a cool game this is how Han Solo won his ship in Star Wars, right? And that's where it's like it's pretty much Star Wars' version of a poker or like
It's like reverse blackjack is how I see
yeah,
it.
blackjack. Yeah, it's just you're kind of getting 21, but in reverse. You want a lower number, you want pairs, and it's a bluffing game, right? Because at the end of the day, that's why I don't feel like you need to cheat. Because like, sure, you can look at their cards and see, but you still need to have a hand that can beat them. There's not like a poker where you can bet a bunch and someone might go, oh, I'm gonna fold because I don't know. There's not that. Everyone has to reveal their hand at the end, so you still just gotta play for the best hand. But it's been a fun time. So.
Yeah, I haven't jumped into that yet. And that race thing that you mentioned, Taylor, is that like, is there races you can do and then also betting on races, or are those?
No, you're not doing the races. It's
Just
just
betting.
like holograms, right? Of like
Okay.
these alien
'Cause
horse
I've
racers.
seen a couple of those quest pop-ups, but I haven't actually done one of them yet. You haven't played Sabak myself. I did play one of the arcade games just to try it out. It was fine. Not something I'd really do again, unless there was maybe like some reason to do it for an unlock of certain kind. But yeah, I like that there's a lot of stuff. I'm excited to get into Sabak. I don't know why I haven't done it yet. I guess I'm just trying to like progress the story somewhat before this episode. So maybe now that I'm less pushed to do that, I might go play some cards.
It's no Gwent though. I'll say that it's no Gwent. Gwent's still the peak video game card game inside a game. So just saying.
Nothing will ever match up.
Yeah, no.
One thing too I wanted to say on the RPG side of things that I kind of just discovered now is that there are armor sets. So if you have like the whatever it is, like the satchel, the pants, and the jacket for a certain armor, like the name of it, they each one might give you like a stealth bonus, but then when you have all 3 of them together, then you'll get an even greater bonus because you're wearing the full set. So I really like that that's in there too, kind of incentivizing trying to collect these sets. So that's pretty neat. We talked about the lock picking mini game. I like it. I like a little rhythm game. I think what I like about it the most is that it's just very quick. Even if you're getting crushed by it, it still like is pretty fast to just mash through it. But like still, it also happens in real time. So sometimes there's a situation where someone is patrolling an area and that, okay, I can't mess this up. Like I need to get this on the first try or 2, and that adds a lot of intensity. So I'm liking the mini game. The hacking mini game, I think I'm like finally just getting bored of it after doing it like maybe 20 times, or I'm like,
It's pretty
okay,
easy.
It's just it's just like playing Mastermind.
Yeah.
But it's a little basic for my liking. Even like the highest difficulty.
Just go
one is
4,
pretty-
4, 4, and then
pretty
you just
simple.
figure it out. I mean, because is there like I've had this too where it's like you don't get them and then you get to that final one. Is there some sort of alarm that goes off or something? Because I feel like it goes off, but then I eventually just get the right one and then
You
it's
are
all-
limited on how many times you can do it, but that's where the slicing subroutines come in because you can add certain incentives or not incentives, perks, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have one now where
think
it like
what I
has
did-
lines to certain ones. And
The one
stuff,
time I got like where there was no way, like it would be a random shot guess on the last line. I just like exited out and started it again, and then I started from scratch. So I don't know. I'm guessing it would activate an alarm. And I think that would be good if it did something like that. But really, you can just back out and activate it again without losing anything. So
Yeah.
that's what I would advise. Random little thing. The fall damage in this game is absolutely brutal. Your
Fuck.
character cannot fall at all.
Which makes sense. I kind of like, right? They're like a normal human who's not like a Jedi or a trained soldier where they're just
You're
like
not
muscly.
wrong. You're not
So I
wrong.
kind of like that. So
And then my last notes here are all kind of like story related things. Do you guys have any other like gameplay things or systems, RPG, combat, stealth, things that we didn't mention?
No, I think I'm story at this point too.
Okay. How about we take our last break? I don't know how much we'll talk about the story, but we'll take one more break and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So obviously, none of us have beat the game, and me and Taylor went different routes afterwards. So I don't want to spoil anything for him. I don't want him to spoil anything for me, and we don't want to spoil anything for Travis, who's a little further behind us there.
I'm still digging the first planet. I'm just hanging out.
I love it. No, I spent a lot of time there. Too. What do you guys think of Kay Vess as a Star Wars protagonist? For me, I feel like she's like bottom of the barrel. I am not a big fan of Kay Vess. I like the idea that she's not an evil person. I like that what they're doing there. You're a scoundrel. You're an outlaw. You're not a evil villain. I get it, but I still think she's way too nice and like a bit too goofy for me. I wish she had a bit of a harder edge to her. I don't really vibe with her humor. In like these life or death situations, that she's just like cracking one-liners, and not in like a fun, smart aleck sort of way, just like kind of like an annoying teenager sort of way. So I'm really not liking this character a whole lot, which is too bad.
I'm with you on the harder edge part. That's about it. But I think because I'm just having a good time with the game, and I think if the game was more story based and she was like this, I go, oh, it's really letting me down. But because I feel like the story's very just kind of there to propel you forward, and it's just you're just some random criminal, and she's not really a criminal. That's where, of course, I like the more hard edge thing. But like, I like the voice actress. I like her reflection she does there. So for me, in the world where I'm just okay, I'm kind of making some story up, I'm kind of fine with just this. It's a very pour yourself into the character type of character, to me opinion, because I don't think there's much. It's just kind of, what do you want in your world? Like, well, I want an adventure. It's like, well, is that it? Like a scoundrel to me would be like, I want to be rich, I want to be powerful, stuff like that. But she feels like she is. They definitely get when they say, oh, well, yeah, scoundrels, these dangerous people, and they're the most like smart alecky of the universe. It just feels like she's just a regular person that's doing things in the Star Wars world, right? And just that's in the story. So, there's nothing, and I'm not too far into it, but it just feels like it is just a okay character you can just kind of put your own thoughts into, but not even that many, because they still give you enough to know, okay, she's not going to go that far. I think the humor I'm fine with right now, but she's fine as a video game vessel, I would say. So
yeah, I guess I was just expecting that since we're hanging out with the criminals, the dark underworld of Star Wars, that it wouldn't be as bright and colorful and cheery. So maybe that's what's catching me off. Like even like the criminals and stuff, I feel like they're not really like, even Jabba, hanging out with him a little bit. And he's like pretty chill. He's a pretty chill dude, which is not what I would expect or want.
It's chill right now, Yeah. And it's like, it's not to be like disrespectful, because I'm sure Taylor would push back on this. I've not played them all, but I just feel like that's kind of like a Ubisoft trope where the main character I'm never invested in. Like the Assassin's Creed games, I never was like, it's the assassin, but like Ezio was pretty dull in that first game. Whatever his name was, Adrian, whatever, and Watch Dogs, like he was very dull. I think there's another Ubisoft game. Like, didn't they do the Division? Did they do the Division games or no?
Yeah.
They were dull. Like, I just feel like I guess that's maybe why, if this was like, oh, rock steady stars, but okay, I'm expecting some stuff here. But I think Ubisoft and even the Assassins, I feel like they have their own lineage and history where you can bring a lot to that character depending on X, Y, and Z. Where most of the time I feel like Ubisoft is just, we need someone that you can play with, like you, just to guide you around. So maybe that's why 2 didn't hurt me as bad, because it's the Ubisoft game. So
I am not, like I said, I'm not big on the scoundrels, and so her character, like, she just feels like if you watch Solo and Kira is like, you're the good guy, and Solo's like, yeah, no, I'm not. That's what Kira is. Kira is just all scoundrels are good guys, right? And there's a lot of story dynamics here where she basically makes the good guy choice, and of course I'm kind of aiding in that decision making as well, but she just naturally is. Even dialogue like, oh, these crime syndicates, they just take over, and they have no care for the little guy. It's the smaller people that pay the price. So yeah, it's just who she is as a character. I've been heavily drawn into other characters in Ubisoft games than I am this character, namely Ezio, but I'm gonna see where this goes. I'm gonna keep seeing it. Like I like ND5. He's a funny droid to pair up with her as a character. But yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. I also randomly I feel like the lip syncing is just atrocious in this game. Like there are no lines of dialogue that are lining up, so maybe that's hurting the investment a little bit. Or like the performance feels fine, but when like the lip syncing is so bad, it's hard for me to buy into some of these sequences. Especially like the character models don't look amazing. I think the environments and like whoever are designing these sets and just designing the houses and putting all the trinkets around, that art team absolutely crushing it. But I feel like some of the character models and faces, and that all ties in with the lip syncing too, is not ideal. It's not great.
The first conversation she had with the bartender, I feel like all the bartender's lines did not match one single bit, and I was like, oof. And I agree with you, where some of that, the characters, some of this game feels like last gen to me, and last gen still looks good, right? But I just feel like even what we've got now, like it even feels like maybe higher end, like 360 PS3, like the top tier games. But it just feels like at times like this is not the best looking game, but yeah, the world, the environment, some of those settings look very good. So.
And then what else? I've had a couple flashback sequences. There's some backstory with character's mom, Rico, and that's
right.
both of them are very short. Like you're just kind of getting a quick snippet. So
Yeah.
curious to see what we do with that. But that's not really doing too much for me yet. And then
No,
the
and
other-
it's making her more like sympathetic too, of like, oh well, she had a mom that she probably lost, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's showing how she became that, but I don't think it's going to be anything too deep.
But
or
she also
heavy,
seems
so.
like the first time she talks about her, she seems pretty unaffected by it. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, she's not really around, but like not in a way that she was bummed out, and like she just shared that openly with someone. I mean, Kay, she's a very open person. Like any person she talks to, she's like, hey, I'm Kay Vest. That's my name. That is who I am. You need to identify me. Like here's my SIN number. Like she's out here just dropping information. So I don't know. I feel like that part of it too feels like, man, I want to be more stealthy. And as you mentioned, Taylor, like you at some points have choices in this game, but you never really have dialogue options. You can choose like which way you want to go on a quest, pretty much which faction you want to screw over, or if you want to help this person or not. And most of the time I'm not, because this one person was like, oh, my partner went missing, and it just felt like a setup. And like there was no reason for me to help this person. I'm like, I'm gonna like I don't care about this person. I'm not gonna help the little guy. Like I'm not a terrible person, but I'm also not just dropping everything to help random people in the street. And I feel like I'm kind of doing that so far. Like anytime someone has like a regular video game like side quest that is just this nothing quest of go get this thing for me or go find this person for me, I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. It doesn't fit with who this character should be, even if this character does play every line like in a very positive way. Any other characters that are standing out? Taylor, you mentioned the ND5, I believe is his name, but I guess I don't really want to spoil like character things, so I don't really want to bring too much up here. But there isn't really anyone who's done anything for me yet. Villain-wise, kind of ally-wise, there's no one that's really working for me. I like the factions in terms of the setup for them, and maybe those like the quest givers, but even then, like there's not like tons of dynamic with them. But in terms of like the main story stuff, I'm not too intrigued by anyone.
there's a character that they play a heavier part in the story, but it's not spoilers. Their name is Ankajimi, and I fucking love this character.
Nice.
She's absolutely hilarious, and yeah, just a very fun character to interact with. There's I don't know if I should say it because I don't want to spoil it, but there's someone who is interesting on Kajimi as well to deal with, and I knew to look out for this interaction, but I wasn't expecting it at this point in the game. So
Yeah. I think maybe the one thing I do like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of these characters, but what I do like is that everyone else in this world is double crossing you, just like you're double crossing everyone else. Like I think like no one really has each other's back in this world. There might be a couple exceptions to that, but even then, there's other people that I'm teaming up with, and there's always someone in the back of my head of like, okay, when is this person going to screw me over? Any chance I get, I'm just going to break away from them. Like I don't want to trust this person. So I think that dynamic of it is working pretty well. But any other story notes from you, Travis?
No, unfortunately, like I said, that's not been the driving factor. I think maybe that would have been something where when I talk about, because I think Hogwarts Legacy, we kind of had that too, where the story, I would say the Legacy story was better than this, but I think there was a time where like, we're just not really loving this. I think that's where, with the gameplay being a bit more simpler, if the story was driving me, I'd be, oh, I really want to get to that next mission. But there's so many times they give me the main quest, it just feels like a side quest where it's like I have no pull other than I know, hey, to progress, I got to do this one. There's usually times where it's like, I'd rather maybe just do like the sort of bounty hunter thing of like getting contracts and going out, right? So that's where I probably will try to streamline it a bit more now, because there's just things I want to do after what you guys have said, and go to other planets and everything. Maybe I'll try and go to a different one. But it's just again kind of guiding you along. Not gonna win any game awards for best story of the year or whatever they call that. So which is unfortunate, but at the same time, again, for me, I never got that from Ubisoft games, and I've also paid $20 for this game, so it's not like oh man, my hype was I was really looking for Last of Us quality. Even Jedi Fallen Order, to me, that's a single player game. They got I guess they still got an actress to play this character, but the actor they got for Jedi is a more of note actor, right? So right away I go, okay, I'm expecting X, Y, and Z from the Jedi games. Where this, I wasn't really expecting that level.
Sorry to interject,
Please.
Travis. So have you lined things up timeline wise, like with Crimson Dawn and where this game takes place in the story?
I feel like is it after the first Death Star's blown up?
Yeah, so this is between Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. But if you remember, Darth Maul is dead at this point, but we still have Crimson Dawn popping off. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, and Kira's still alive, right? She's there and everything like that, so I guess she just took over from him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't elaborate.
There's a couple other familiar characters that pop up in Tatooine that I've seen so far. So
Luke?
Yeah, Luke's there.
Hey, Kay.
Leia's there. Han Solo's there. Chewie.
Apparently, the blaster shots there from when Greedo and Han Solo were in the cantina. You can see the booth and then see the damage on the wall.
It's a fun detail. Very rundown cantina. Can't even patch the walls. Come on.
No.
Yeah.
I think my last note here is that the opening sequence, Canto Bite, I thought it was really good. Like, it was a pretty extended sequence. It's very linear, and it's teaching you the mechanics. But I thought visually it looked great. It's acting as a tutorial area, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun set pieces there, and got me pretty invested in it right away. So, shout outs to that. I liked exploring the town a little bit too. So,
yeah, I think that was cool. I think that it's nice that these games are able to pay tribute to that era of Star Wars and kind of let us look more into it. Like Canto Bight, exploring it was cool. Like I said, Kijimi earlier, I loved the detail that they've invested in that. Like this snowy planet, a lot of fun, just kind of like trekking around. You jogged my memory on something. Have either of you guys found the High Republic cruiser on the first planet, Tashana? No. So it's not much of a...
is that like the destroyed kind of situation?
Yeah, it's part of the main story, I'm pretty sure.
I did that quest, yeah.
Yeah, so there's these dialogue things in there, like data pads, where it's super cool because just the idea that they put a High Republic ship in there got me really excited. And then you have this guy talking like, oh, I got to go to the bridge of this cruiser. Like, I'm just an engineer. I can't wait. And there's talk that we're going to go to Starlight Beacon soon. I'm thinking, oh, that's just a cool little thing that they added in there. That's and then cool. It shows another data pad where the guy's like, our ship is under attack by a Nihil fleet. They just came out of nowhere. Like, oh, our engines are down. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it. Those kind of things I really, really like. That. So I'm hoping other people kind of find those little Easter eggs.
Just making me sad about that Star Wars Eclipse game now,
Yes.
Anything else that we haven't mentioned here, guys?
No, even with my critiques, I'm still excited to get in and play. Like I said, I think it's a fun game that I recommend to everybody that is a Star Wars fan. And then, hey, luckily even Dylan so far, like not the biggest Star Wars fan, he's enjoying it. So that's what I'd say recommend. That doing the UE play thing. Again, if it's one of those things where you have a big backlog and it's like, oh, I gotta get this. I don't know if you don't love Star Wars if you need to get there, but I've had a good time and I'm looking forward to seeing where it all goes and what your kind of everything you have at the end. But no, I'm just having a fun time adventuring in the world of Star Wars right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was gonna ask the fourth planet. What's it called? It starts with an A.
Akiva.
Yeah, where is that? Is that from any of the movies or something? Where is that?
No
A
idea.
jungle world with numerous droid factories. So I don't think so. No.
Okay, so that's like a new location that they made for this.
Yeah,
The other
or it
ones
could
have
be
all been-
something from like an animated book or something
Okay.
like that. But
That's
nothing
cool.
that I think like, oh yeah, this is where Han Solo and Leia made love or something like that. You
I
know?
think that's a good mix to pick some favorites, maybe a more low key spot like a Kajimi, and then
Yeah.
just make up one. And the droid factory, that's cool because I've seen like droids. I feel like I've seen a handful of them, but not a lot. So I'd actually like to see more of that because even like in combat, like any droid I've fought is so freaking tanky. That like I don't know, they would just make for an interesting like switch up on the dynamic there. So hopefully that's integrated into that planet. That'd be cool to check some of that out.
It's neat how you can't just knock out a droid, but I do like that that's where it comes into switching to like your ion blaster.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. And you
Yeah,
guys
what
have the sorry.
What happens if you use the stun blast on like a droid?
I don't think.
I don't think it
anything.
worked for me when I
Okay.
did it. Have you guys used the like explosive shot
Mhm.
thing yet? Yeah. See,
Yeah, I just thought
using
that-
that on rocks, I did not know that was a thing until like you messed around a little bit. But I wish I like had some. It's like, oh, you can use this on certain objects in your environment to cause a reaction. Just something to nudge it instead of just like blind firing all over the bloody place trying to see what would happen. But I digress.
Well, yeah, funny. Once again, like I feel like me and you almost played different games to some extent because for me, I'd like seen multiple spots in the game where I'm like, oh, that looks like a breakable wall. I guarantee you, I'm gonna get some sort of explosive. Like I threw a grenade at it because I thought it was something I could blow up, and then it didn't work. I was like, oh, I swear I'm gonna get something at some point. And then there was a quest I had later that was like, oh, this requires the gun blast thing, whatever, to progress the
okay.
quest. So I was like, okay, it's something I'm gonna unlock. Then I even went there, and then I saw that crack on the wall, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was
still need that.
wondering because I
Yeah.
threw a nade. I haven't got that. Yeah, I was throwing a nade because I was like, man, Star Fox Adventures taught me about walls that look like this, and I was shooting everything. Gwen was with me. We were trying to figure out. I'm like, I guess not. I guess it's just a design that way. So that's good to know that okay, there's something coming later that I can do that because I got to double back to a Pike Syndicate wall. I was like, there's something behind there. So
Yeah, that's so funny that. Yeah, and then like after I did that, got the quest for it, and then as soon as I did that, the ND5 he gave me like 2 spots I could go like test it out and practice
Nice.
it too. So I don't know, that's funny for me. Like that was like a very unintuitive, very well laid out. But I guess just in an open world game like this where you can do things in different orders, that's just gonna happen. Did you got that on Kajimi? I'm guessing, Taylor, or did you just get it now when you got to Tatooine?
No, I got it before when I was on Kajimi.
Okay, so I guess they whatever like second planet you go to, I'm guessing they like have a way that you can go through it. So maybe like Tatooine was set up for it was a bit better than the Kajimi route or something. I'm not sure, but interesting nonetheless. Travis, where are you going next? What's your next planet you're gonna hit up?
I want to go to Kajimi because it is something from the sequels we haven't seen that much. I love Tatooine, but we've been there a lot. But I might have to just go to that other planet if that is option, the whatever that's called.
Yeah,
that
you
new
can go to
one.
any of them at that point.
Akiva, yeah, I might go there just in case the next time I'm on a side quest and something and we haven't all progressed or anything. So might go there, and plus then I can tell you guys, hey, this plant might suck. Like, don't rush to it, you know. But yeah, probably there. I think I will work on that now because I've had a good time. But I got a lot of credits. My reputation's good a lot of places. I've opened up some vaults, so I think I'll probably work on. I don't even remember what main quest right now. I think I'm like updating my speeder or something like that. And that's something where sometimes the goal, if you hit up the D-pad, shows you. I think sometimes that's a little mess up too, because I've seen times where it makes it looks like it's
Yeah.
above you, but really it's a guy that's like
oh yeah,
just there.
the map in this game is atrocious. In
Yeah.
the towns or on
Fuck.
even the
It's
world
not great.
map, I think is pretty. I like that it has all the icons for all the quests, even if you haven't selected the quest. But other than that, not a good map.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to get into specifics when I do non-overall or the overalls. I really like the quest bar where it's like your main quest, your jobs, your side quest, ventures, and I
Took
love
me a
that
bit
you
to
can-
get used to, but now that I'm used to it, and it like even breaks it out by planet too, I'm
Yeah.
getting used to it now.
Oh, love that so much when it will literally say, that, the orbit of it, whatever. Because like I said, in Starfield, sometimes it's pain. I love that you can collapse the tree and everything like that. So I think that's well put together, the actual menu of the missions and the job. So I appreciate that, because there's sometimes just like, okay, I just got this job and where is it? But I feel like even the icons they use on the side of like, okay, handshake, that makes sense. That's a contract. Like there's just things that I think that was clever, and that's been a good way to streamline it for me. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so stay tuned, because I'm next week. I'll probably be talking about this game more. Maybe if one of you guys are on, I forget who's on next week, talk about it. But I'm sure this one will be one that
Kirkland
we
is
keep.
next week.
Kirkland, all right. I'm sure we'll be updating our thoughts on this game as we play it for. Well, I have a 3 weeks to play it before my Ubisoft thing runs out. I'm not gonna resubscribe for a second month of this, but I'm gonna try and play a bunch this month is my plan. Get my $20 worth, and then I'll probably resubscribe when Assassin's Creed comes out. So who knows? Maybe I'll even play some more Outlaws at that time.
or Pandora.
Pandora.
Save for next side
Sidequest.
quest.
Next
Yeah,
Sidequest.
next
I
Sidequest
got,
you're
I got
on.
some
Save
words
it.
for that game.
Pandora.
I'm putting it on my list here. Taylor is playing Pandora. There you go. It's on my list. We'll talk about it next time Taylor's on SideQuest. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This is a fun episode. If you are playing the game, let us know what you think. I'm curious what the other people out there are thinking of this game. And yeah, we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.